When you heard what the report said, do you think this is vindication?
It is. I mean, the FBI's had to wait 2 years while the president and his followers lied about the institution. Finally, the truth gets told. I hope it's not too late, but on all the important things, it tells the truth.
Do you worry it's going to get sort of missed or characterized in a different way? Obviously, the White House has already made a statement, which we'll talk about in a minute.
I worry it's not only going to get distorted, it's going to get missed by people in the rush of the other news we have. People have internalized the lies they've heard. Good people believe when a president says something. So they've heard treason, they've heard spying, they've heard informants in the campaign for 2 years. Are they going to pay attention now is my great worry.
I think I read that you'd said that your mother-in-law in a care facility who was 89 believed you were going to jail based on what she had seen on television.
Every time we would visit, she would express that worry, and I would tell her, look, it's all made up. There's zero chance of that. But she believes what she sees on television, and she's not unlike millions of others who are drinking this in for 2 years. So where does the FBI go to get its reputation back? We have to talk about this result.
The Inspector General report did find serious problems, 17 specific incidences, particularly about the FISA process. And from the report, it says that so many basic and fundamental errors were made by 3 separate hand-picked teams on one of the most sensitive FBI investigations that was briefed to the highest levels within the FBI, and that FBI officials expected would eventually be subjected to close scrutiny, raised significant questions regarding the FBI chain of command's management and supervision of the FISA process.
Yeah, that's really concerning. You're right with the number. He found 17 significant errors in collecting information, in sharing information, in checking information, and that's a problem. That's one of the good things that comes out of IG reports is you find problems, and he found problems that have to be fixed.
It also raises questions about if this happens on the most high-profile thing the FBI is involved with, what happens on lower-level investigations where there's not so much scrutiny?
Yeah, it does. And I can't answer that from this distance, but it's going to have to be looked at. He didn't conclude that the errors made any difference in the ultimate result, in the validity of the applications, but that doesn't matter. It still has to be taken seriously.
He basically didn't weigh in on that at all. Do you think that those errors made a difference?
I can't tell. I mean, you'd have to ask the federal judges that scrutinized it. It may not have made a difference. It may have, but you can't let that steer you off of it. You got to stare at those problems and try to fix them.
You wrote a book about leadership. This says, this raised significant questions regarding FBI chain of command's management and supervision in the FISA process. Do you take responsibility for these lower level issues?
Oh, of course. Yeah. As a leader, you have to hold yourself accountable and offer transparency in connection with that accountability. The director is responsible. If I were still there, I'd be doing what Director Wray is doing, which is ordering a real scrub and a retraining to make sure that we wipe out problems like this.
Did you know about these 17 problems?
No, I had no idea.
They didn't rise to your level?
No, they're all, look, the director's responsible for them, but they're all happening at a low level where people are assembling what they need to put together to go seek an electronic surveillance order from the court.
It's hard to overstate just how full-throated a debunking of the conspiracy theories this Inspector General report is. I mean, theories that the president has been pushing, his allies have been spreading for years and years and years. There's no truth to what they have been saying, according to this report.
Yes, and there's a risk we've become so numb to the lying that we just move on to the next outrage, and we can't do that. For 2 years, the President of the United States accused our premier law enforcement agency of treason, of trying to defeat him, of trying to stop him. And it turns out that was all nonsense. That was all lies. We have to pause and think about that because we need this institution. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you need the FBI. You need to see it clearly. And it's human. It makes mistakes, but it's not engaged in treason or a coup or politically minded investigation. That's just a lie.
It's interesting because the president continues to talk publicly about, Elise Page and Strzok and the emails and the lovers, and he does dramatic readings. In the Inspector General report, they found no evidence that personal feelings of those two or even other agents who were pro-Trump and were texting about Trump and things against Hillary Clinton, that they found no evidence that personal opinions had any implications for the actual investigation.
Zero. And imagine you're those people. Look, I was the director, and so a certain amount of fire directed at someone at my level is understandable. Take someone like Lisa Page. The president has not only lied about her, but in a misogynistic way, attacked her, mocked her, belittled her over and over again, and it was all a lie. So where does she go to get that back? I don't know, but we have to talk about it.
So again, according to this, the Inspector General report, because the kind of the details of it are really important, it said that information reasonably indicated activity constituting either a federal crime or a threat to national security or both may have occurred and may be occurring, which is what led to the investigation. So essentially saying that there was a reasonable basis for this investigation to be undertaken, and it had nothing to do with the Steele dossier.
Nothing. The facts were there, and we should have been fired if we didn't follow up on the facts that we received in late July. And we followed up, as you know, quietly. We didn't reveal it to anyone. We didn't leak it to anyone. We conducted a professional investigation, which is what the American people would have expected of us.
Also, the allegations of the FBI wiretapping Trump, of planting an informant in the Trump campaign. According to the Inspector General, we found no evidence the FBI attempted to place any confidential or CHSs within the Trump campaign, recruit members of the Trump campaign as CHSs, or task CHSs to report on the Trump campaign. No confidential informants.
It almost boggles the mind. The things the president has been telling the country and been echoed by his followers all turn out to have been lies. About people, about an institution, about the techniques we used. It was all lies. And I suppose he counts on the fact that we'll be overwhelmed by that tidal wave of lies. The institution needs to be understood by the American people, and it's fundamentally honest and independent.
I'm wondering what you make of the statements by, obviously, the Attorney General, first of all, we should talk about, has come out and already kind of raised questions about this Inspector General report. Also, U.S. Attorney John Durham, who Attorney General Barr has tasked with his own investigation, said, quote, "Our investigation has included developing information from other persons and entities, both in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. We do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to predication and how the FBI's case was opened." Do you think Durham knows more about what happened than the Inspector General does?
I have no idea. The whole statement mystifies me. We've come to understand the Attorney General envisions his role as being a spokesperson for the president, but John Durham is a professional, and I hope he explains, what on earth are you doing talking about an investigation like that in that manner that's still going on? The Department of Justice requires a compelling public interest to talk about a pending investigation. What exactly is that here? What are you doing, man, is the question I'd have for him.
You're saying Durham shouldn't have even made a statement because their report, his investigation has not been completed, or at least the report has not been released at all. You're saying he should have remained quiet.
Well, unless there's some compelling public interest that justifies departing from the normal practice, but I can't imagine what that is here. And so I hope he completes whatever he's doing and offers transparency to the American people. I suspect he's not going to find what will satisfy the president's conspiracy theories. There'll probably be an investigation of Durham when this is over. But we need to know what he's done and what he found. We need transparency. My worry is that this Attorney General is going to kick it down the road, keep it alive until the election next November, and then we'll never hear another word about it. That's not acceptable. And
I mean, were you joking when you said you think Durham would be investigated? That essentially that's the kind of thing that happened in the Soviet Union of, they investigate the investigators, then they investigate the people who investigated the investigators.
I wish I was joking. Who would imagine a circumstance like this where the Inspector General, an independent force that's been very tough on me, spends 2 years gathering facts, and the Attorney General brushes it off his shoulder and commissions a personal investigation to investigate again. I don't think it's a joke to think, well, if that guy doesn't come up with what they need, they'll find another way.
From your experience in the Justice Department and the FBI, I mean, is Attorney General Barr working as in the role that he should be, in his constitutionally mandated role, or do you believe he views himself and the president views him as the president's attorney?
The Attorney General has to be the steward of an organization that's apolitical. So he has to be both a political appointee and a guardian of the apolitical nature of investigations. The Justice statute wears a blindfold because you cannot be peeking at your political boss or your friends when you're making decisions. It's certainly hard to explain a lot of his conduct over the last year as consistent with that role of balancing the political and the apolitical. He seems to have leaned on the political entirely.
I mean, the only reason really for him to make a statement and a commentary about the Inspector General report, as with Durham, is really to send a message to the president that, don't worry, we're still on
To his
this.
supporters, yeah, I know it looks like that you told whoppers to the American people about a vital institution for 2 years, but I got this. We're going to find something. We'll keep digging until we find something that justifies what you've been saying for 2 years. I don't think that's a role for the Attorney General of the United States.